Did you know a tiny change in DNA can change, well, literally everything? Let's make mutations simple, the EduLauncher way.
So let's jump right in. A mutation is basically just a change in your DNA sequence. We're talking about a rare, completely random change that can actually be inherited.
Okay, let's look at the two main types, gene versus chromosomal mutations.
First up, gene mutations. These are super localized, affecting just a single gene on a micro level. Then, you've got chromosomal mutations, which operate on a much bigger macro scale, affecting large sections of DNA. Let's zoom in on those gene mutations for a second. These are all about things like substitution, insertion, or deletion. Think of your DNA as a sentence made up of letters. If you get a deletion mutation and lose just one single letter, the word friend suddenly turns into fiend. That one tiny drop completely changes the meaning of the genetic sentence, and boom, you might end up with a non-functional protein. Now, zooming back out to that macro level, chromosomal mutations involve entire chromosomes. Take a look here. This individual has an extra copy of chromosome number 21. This specific mutation is called trisomy 21, which results in Down syndrome. It's a really clear example of how adding a whole chromosome dramatically shifts the biological outcome.
So you're probably wondering, what actually causes these mutations?
Well, they can happen totally naturally, just spontaneous errors during the whole DNA copying process. But they can also be triggered by environmental factors, which we call mutagens. We're talking about ionizing radiation, like UV rays from the sun, or chemical mutagens, like the stuff found in tobacco.
All right, time for a misconception buster. Are mutations helpful, harmful, or just neutral?
Here's the really interesting part. Pop culture loves to make us think of, mutants and monsters, but mutations aren't always bad. Let's start with neutral ones. Believe it or not, the vast majority of mutations have absolutely zero effect. Why? Because our DNA code is what biologists call degenerate. Basically, a small base change might still code for the exact same amino acid, so the right protein still forms and everything functions totally normally. No harm, no foul. Now, this perfectly illustrates a harmful mutation. On the left, we've got a normal, round red blood cell, and on the right, a sickle-shaped one. A tiny substitution mutation in the DNA sequence changes just one single amino acid in the hemoglobin protein. That's all it takes to make the whole cell misshape. This leads to a disease called sickle-cell anemia, where those rigid cells clump up and block blood vessels.
But wait, here is a seriously mind-blowing twist. That exact same sickle cell mutation can actually be helpful. Yep, you heard that right. If you're a heterozygote, which means you inherit just one copy of that sickle cell allele instead of two, it gives you this incredible advantage. It actually provides resistance to malaria. Since the parasite can't grow effectively in those blood cells, this mutation straight up helps people survive in areas where malaria is common.
So let's look at the big picture. Why do mutations actually matter?
Here's the absolute crucial takeaway. Mutations create variation, and they drive evolution. Without these little genetic mistakes, we wouldn't have any new genetic material. Without new traits, there's no natural selection. And, you guessed it, no evolution. Every single unique trait that helps an organism survive started out as just a simple, random mutation. So remember this, mutation equals change in DNA, and that change can shape life itself. That's the EduLauncher way, making biology simple and easy to understand. Save this explainer for revision and follow EduLauncher for more easy science lessons. And since mutations literally shape all life, it kind of makes you wonder what tiny invisible changes are happening inside your DNA right now.